Hey, what up everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you here with a short little news tip that I just picked up from NoDQ.com. And honestly, this is a story that I think a lot of people might just sort of pass over throughout the day. But honestly, when I was getting back into watching wrestling, 2010, 2011, were really big years for me. It was when I started making videos on YouTube, and I really felt like in order to make videos, I had to watch Raw, I had to watch SmackDown. And honestly, from watching videos and making videos on YouTube, I felt like I was really getting back into wrestling. I talked about how basically at WrestleMania 26, when I walked into University of Phoenix Stadium there in Arizona, and I saw the stage and I saw the set, I sort of felt like I got baptized into wrestling again, and I really felt like, I had been watching wrestling. I'd even been to a few shows in the years before, but mainly what I was doing was I was just watching it out of repetition, and I just sort of was almost using it like wrestle crap, where basically I would just shit on whatever they were doing. I was being very negative about the things that was going on. Always, whatever they were doing was always wrong, and I felt like I really got into what it was, and maybe that's what a lot of other people need to do when they they watch wrestling. A lot of people sort of have a negative feel about what's going on, always thinking that what they're doing is always wrong. And I will always say that, for making videos and having to share my opinion on everything that wrestling is doing, I might not always feel like it is the best, but when I put my money behind my mouth and I show up and I go to a show like WrestleMania or SummerSlam or another various pay-per-view throughout the year, I always feel like I get my money's worth, and I always feel like walking out of there, I'm more fired up to watch the next night's Monday Night Raw or SmackDown that week, and get back into what's going on. But, one of the big storylines that was going on in 2010, of course, was Nexus, and that was one of the things that really got me fired up and really back into wrestling. But around that time, they were also doing with Monday Night Raw, they were doing the anonymous Raw general manager. Honestly, one of the worst payoffs for a wrestling storyline that I've ever seen in wrestling. For weeks, week in and week out, the anonymous Raw GM would, be set up there, and they would have the computer sat there, and Michael Cole would have to read off of the computer, the Raw anonymous GM's emails, and we never really got an answer to who this guy was. It just sort of got phased out due to the fact that they didn't need to have a GM anymore, because they had brought Triple H up as to be sort of like the spokesman. He took the COO job. Basically when the board kicked Triple H out of when the board kicked Vince McMahon out of being in charge because he wasn't able to let CM Punk re-sign a contract, and CM Punk won the championship, and then he left, and he had the title with him, even though he came back after 2 weeks. They took that opportunity to have, Vince crying in the ring. He was wearing that pink tux. Or it wasn't a tux, it was a suit, but I thought it was hideous, and I thought it was horrible. I thought it was one of the worst segments they've ever done. And I remember, if you go back and you look at my video that I made that night, really bashing what they had done, not cashing in on the fact of CM Punk not being there, and him being on, I believe that game was on ESPN, or at least it was on WGN. He was on TV almost all night during Monday Night Raw at the Cubs game, and even had the WWE Championship with him. I don't know if WWE got him the seats or if he just went on his own and brought the title with him, but a very cool thing. And when you look back on it, it was bigger than it was. Of course, he would show up at Comic-Con, I believe, the next weekend, and have the face-off with Triple H. And at that point, you didn't know that he was coming back, but you knew that he was coming back. And some people were always dreaming up what was going to be going on. But, back to the anonymous Raw general manager. Basically, Chris DeJoseph, a former WWE writer, he had a Q&A, and it was picked up, and there's clips of it on YouTube, and he was asked, what was the deal with the anonymous Raw general manager? Was there a plan, or was it just week to week? And he basically said that the plan was that it was going to be Triple H. He was going to be revealed somewhere along the road. Basically in 2010, 2011, Triple H really started to take a backseat role with the company, working a lot more in the office and, at the desk with Vince McMahon, producing Raw and SmackDown, trying to find out, how to take over the company one day, I guess you can say, and be that on-screen real producer. Talking to the guys before they walk out, and talking to them once they get back, and trying to set the pace of the show and everything that goes on with what they do back there. But you can think of, I believe it was at Extreme Rules, that would be the pay-per-view after WrestleMania 26. I think that's the pay-per-view where Sheamus took out Triple H with the lead pipe, where they were supposed to be the opening match. They ended up wrestling later in the card, and I think Sheamus beat Triple H, and that would be the last time we would see Triple H until the build-up until WrestleMania 27, when he would fight The Undertaker. He'd come out on that January Monday Night Raw. They'd have the face-to-face, and it was off to the races from there. But if you remember back to the anonymous Raw general manager, it wasn't great. It was good. Sometimes he teased that he was Hulk Hogan. Sometimes he teased that he was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Sometimes he teased that he was The Rock. Sometimes he was a babyface. Sometimes he was a heel in the end. For no reason at all, on a Raw, like a year, maybe even 2 years later, they revealed when Santino was playing, Sherlock Holmes. He unveiled that it was Hornswoggle under the ring as the anonymous Raw general manager, and then they even brought the anonymous Raw general manager back. I think that honestly I overreacted by not reading the actual story and listening to what they were saying. I thought they were actually bringing the anonymous Raw general manager back to be the real GM of Monday Night Raw again, and it ended up that he was just on Monday Night Raw, and then the next Monday Night Raw, they brought back another anonymous Raw general manager, and then they brought back another anonymous, no, not anonymous, they brought back another GM, like Vicky was in charge one day, and they didn't bring Bischoff back, but I think Teddy Long was in charge, and then they just brought these people back for like one-time appearances because they didn't have anybody to be that on-screen general manager. It was just sort of like a feel-good thing to have him there, and they acted like Hornswoggle was never revealed, and that made me mad. For Triple H to be revealed, I guess it makes a lot of sense, because it would almost be like the character that he plays now as the lead of the Authority. Of course, he has to be the big heel, and he has to step up and act like he has Seth Rollins' back. But, sometimes he comes out and he's just, has a big joking promo to kick off Monday Night Raw, or him and Stephanie come out and they're just the feel-good promoters talking about how good SummerSlam's going to be, and, we're going to make a lot of money, and you guys are going to walk home happy, and for only $10 you get to see it, and this is one of the best ideas to see it on the WWE Network live. I guess it is what it is. I don't know where it would have been revealed that Triple H would have been the guy. Would he have had to wrestle a match somewhere along the way? I remember thinking a lot of people thought that Triple H was going to come back and be the mystery guy at SummerSlam, to come back and fight the Nexus and help lead Team WWE to beat him. But in the end, they brought back Daniel Bryan. And I think if maybe they weren't able to sign Daniel Bryan to a contract, maybe he would have said that he would have liked staying in the Indies and not coming to WWE. Maybe that's what they would have had it done, and maybe that's what exposed him. But I don't know. I think in the end we ended up getting what it was. But it's good to know the mystery of who it was really supposed to be, because they could have really said it was supposed to be anybody, because if you think about WrestleMania 27, that was the return of The Rock. And I know The Rock came out and he smashed the anonymous Raw general manager's computer, and the storyline was sort of still going at that time. But I'll honestly say, when I watched WrestleMania 27 and the anonymous Raw general manager computer went off, I forgot that was even still a part of the show at that time. So I don't know. It's fun to find out what was supposed to happen. I think that's one of the reasons why lots of people like listening to wrestling podcasts. Just to give it a plug, if you're still listening to this 9 minutes in, I heard from John Pollock and Wei Ting that one of the best wrestling podcasts out there is the Ric Flair podcast. I'm honestly going to go home today, download a few of the episodes, hit the subscribe button. I'm not going to go catch all up, but I heard that he did a Q&A from Roddy Piper's funeral. Not like he was taking questions from the funeral, but he had to travel to go to the funeral, which meant he couldn't have an in-show, an in-studio show. He couldn't interview anybody over the phone. So he just took listener emails, and I've heard that it's one hell of a show. So make sure you go check that out. But Triple H, the anonymous Raw general manager, it would have been great. Maybe we could have got a match out of him somewhere along 2010. So peace out, everybody. I'll see you guys down the road.